Hello, hello! Are we live? Guys, I placed the microphone a bit further away from my face. Does this sound good? Can you all hear me clearly? Is the audio balance alright?
Can you hear me? Is everything okay?
Seriously, I'm just wondering. Oh, this headphone lead's so annoying, but this thing doesn't support Bluetooth. I think I'm gonna. Ah, what the hell? Ah, what the. What was that? Dude, I think one of my hairs was stuck on the lead. That really hurt. Oh, Jesus Christ. How does that happen? I need a haircut. I got a shave a couple days ago because you guys noticed I got an awful spot here. I'm really sorry. I know it looks disgusting. Can I get rid of that? Yeah, it's not gonna go away. I'm sorry, dudes. But hey, these things come and go. You can ignore it. My face can't be small enough soon. How's chat doing anyway? How's chat doing? Audio balance is all good? Are you sure? Is the music and my voice perfectly balanced? Because there's something I need to talk about, actually. I'm on a new computer, meaning the audio hasn't carried over. Like, all of these were saved on my hard drive. They're not on Spotify, which means all I have is Minecraft music. Also, I've muted this. I didn't want to do that. So I'm going to need to, get all these files back on it. And I've got my external hard drive, and I just want to see if I can get... Excuse me? I just want to see if I can get everything back on here. But yeah, welcome to the stream. There's something I need to talk about as well. There's other things. Guys, welcome back to Debate Direct. It has been far too long. Let me just show you something. That's the stream. Need to get rid of that. That's an shouldn't show off. Oh, there's nothing on there. It's just the front page. I'm doing some reading for Circus Productions, guys, of the an early copy of the next novel he's writing. It's very exciting, guys. If I go to this playlist, if I go to start beatboxing. Fellas, it's been a while. It has been far too long. The last Debate Direct, at the time of streaming this, was on August 1st. It is now the 10th of October. It's October 10th. It has been, dear God, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. It's been 2.5 months since the last Debate Direct. And I'm very sorry. Debate Direct is the highest quality series on this channel. It is a very high effort, needs lots of preparation, big event kind of thing. Meaning that when times get tough and I have to cut down on things like streams and hobbies and other projects and whatever for the sake of managing big things going on in my life, Debate Direct suffers the most. And yeah, I'm really sorry it's been so long. Debate Direct sometimes has really long periods, never intentional. It's supposed to be every Sunday, on and on forever. And I can miss out the odd weekend, I guess, but like, it was never meant to be a break this long, so I'm sorry guys. But I hadn't forgotten about it, I just could not make the time to prepare for it and everything. And I actually did try doing this 2 or 3 weeks ago, but a load of people cancelled, and then I didn't feel well, and there was always something. I felt ill, or I was busy, or whatever. So it just got pushed back and back and back, up to now. But I'll tell you what, guys, I've been thinking about doing some big stuff with this series. Next episode, episode 50, is going to be quite a landmark for Debate Direct. This series, I never really thought about how long and how far on this would go when I started it, but I'm really realizing now, there's no end to this series. This isn't limited to any specific game or project. Debate Direct is just a stream series where we do debating, and that's really broad, and I've done loads of different stuff, and I've talked about opinions on all kinds of things. this is going to go on forever. This is going to be my longest series. One day we're going to be at episode 1000, I'm sure. If any series gets to 100 episodes, it's going to be this one. Aquaria, Minecraft 1.16, doesn't even come close. 32 episodes, 30's done so far. We're already on 49 of these, which is kind of mind-blowing. But I'm going to talk about more of that in Debate Direct episode 50, so keep an eye out, stay tuned. It'll probably be next weekend, but if I need more time, it might be in 2 weeks. But I'm hoping to have it done before Halloween. Debate Direct 50 is going to be not like this huge event. I'm going to save that for episode 100, because I think I will get there one day. But Debate Direct 50 is going to be a landmark. It's going to be a big milestone, because 50 is quite a lot of episodes for one series. It's a nice round number. It's half 100. So... anyway, enough of that. How's chat doing? Let me just chat to chat for a bit while I try and get all of the other music back onto my hard drive. I might need to re-add them, but all these songs I do have, I think, on my external. I'm actually just going to move over to here just so I'm not exposing anything, you know, like my porn folder, my other porn folder, my bank details, my black market drug dealing, you know, all the private stuff that you never want it to be seen on the stream. But yeah, how's the audio balance? Is it good? Platy Games, Monkey! Ethan says, go back! I want to be monkey! Reject humanity. Reject modernity. Become monkey. That is what this stream is about, boys. Become monkey! We're going to be talking more about it soon, but yeah, today we're talking about the ethics of zoos. It's a very exciting topic. I've been meaning to do this one for a while. I won't be here. I'm playing Minecraft with the boys. Ethan, thanks for tuning in. I really respect you actually coming out here just to let me know I won't be here. There's no obligation, although you are a moderator and, you know, I do like your presence. It looks like we've got DJ and Livy here, so no problem. Thank you for coming by. I can't be here because I have to sleep, but I'll say my thoughts. Ooh, so Mithran's dropped by some thoughts because he can't be here. So I'm going to come back to those in a minute when we start debating. Thank you very much, Mithran. I'll read that in a moment. Hello, SBL, Livy, and DJ. We are live and ethical. How's it going? Audience is good. Hair suck? Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? And you get a haircut, but yeah. Random, but the last 4 months of the year ended with Burr. Yeah. I don't know what that's about. Shower thought, I guess. Anyway, let's see if we can find now the music. Okay, I've got the music here. This is the folder, right? Debate Direct OST. Boom. Okay, so I've got my folder on my external hard drive. I just need to copy paste this into music, because the music's completely empty. Look at this. I'm really trying to multitask, but yeah. Completely empty. That was quite quick. Wow. I thought it'd be slow. I thought I'd have more time to talk to chat. It doesn't matter. We don't want it to be slow. Just enjoy the Minecraft music for now. We'll get everything else in a moment, guys. Oh my god! Guys, all the other songs automatically started working. I thought I had to manually re-add them. But the thing is, I've put the files in the exact same directory as they were on my other computer. On my laptop over here, it's the exact same directory. This PC music, Debate Direct OST, meaning they've automatically fixed themselves. So now, Ballad of Cats, love ya, but we've got everything. I'm actually going to just reset the shuffle. So yeah, we've got all the songs here now. Spring Thaw, here it is. Although we're actually going into winter rather than out of it. So, you know, get ready, fellas. But yeah, hello, DJ. I was part of Debate Direct 48. Yes, you are. SPL made it into the thumbnail. I'm honestly just impressed you have kept the series going without having motivation loss or hate comments bring you down. Kind of why I don't often make my own series. I mean, motivation loss and hate comments are just a part of life. I haven't had any hate specifically to Debate Direct. I don't know, there's been a bit. I've had some people try and be controversial in the comments when we got all political a couple times, and that didn't go well, but I don't know, man. Motivation does dip. This series has been off for 2 months, but I'm back because deep down, I really like Debate Direct, and I'll talk about this more at the end after the debate when we've got time. And I'll talk about this again on Debate Direct 50, but this series is something more than just, you know, Let's Plays. It's really connected to my skill set and my subject interests at school and stuff. Like, it's a bit more academic, which I kind of like. Because studying really is fun when you're doing it right, with the right teacher, the right topic, or in my case, when you're self-teaching, because you can always go at your own pace. There's no deadlines or anything. Honestly, all the bureaucracy and deadlines are really what makes school suck. The actual art of, like, studying a topic you're really invested in, like science or maths or literature or history, it's fun, it's good. And okay, I just wanted to fix my mirror up I just wanted to be angled on my door so you could say out to the sleep paralysis demon. There we go. It's working now, I think. Whatever. If I actually open the door. There it is. Anyway, so welcome back to Debate Direct. Let's get on with this. Now, no one's joined me today. There were people going to join, but no one responded to the new invite. So, chat, this one's on you. I'm on my own. Today, I'm going to ask you guys, are zoos ethical? Zoos. Prisons or sanctuaries? In today's debate, I'm not written this properly. In today's debate, we are going to weigh up... Oh, come on, I just started. Excuse me, hold on, one moment. Guys, I really need to use my inhaler. Just a second. Okay, fellas, sorry about that. I don't know why, but it's like 10 minutes after I start, I'm always having like congestion issues or asthma issues, something to do with my breathing. Let's get on with this. So as I was saying, zoos, prisons or sanctuaries? In today's debate, we weigh up the pros and cons of zoos and how ethical they really are. Do animals suffer in zoos, or are they an enjoyable experience on both sides of the glass? Join today as we analyse and evaluate information and opinions on the ethics of zoos. And the charity shout-out today is completely coincidental, but it's actually quite appropriate. I just realised I need to update this one. I want you guys to go donate to the RSPCA, if you can. Very appropriate. I can't believe that is a complete coincidence, but wow. Now, as always, we have sources, so I'm going to read through a few articles. I've actually read through these already, but I'm going to talk about this topic while gathering information on articles, and then I really want to dig into, like, opinions, because... You know, if we're going to talk about zoos, we need to form a criteria, define the word zoo. What is a zoo? You know, what's ethical? You know, what isn't ethical? That kind of thing. Okay, just we're all on the same page. And of course, we can argue about semantics. That is a part of any debate. You can't have a debate without arguing about the definition of words, although in some cases that's actually very stupid. But yeah. Oh, Livy, don't feel anxious. Why'd you feel anxious? What's happening over there? Tell me about it. We're also going to look up definition of the word zoo. Anyway. But yeah, welcome back to Debate Direct. Glad to see it's back. Feel like this will be an interesting discussion. However, I'm just not sure what I would have said about, so I kind of wait this one to be live to see what important to share before I give an opinion. Fair enough, DJ. I do link these. I only link them on Discord, actually. I should link them in the Reddit posts. From now on, guys, whenever I do a new stream, I'm going to link all the articles that I want people to, like, revise before we join, basically. It's completely optional, but if you want to revise because you're not familiar with the topic, you can read these before you join. Or join without, you know, read the articles without even having to join, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, finish case 1, SBL. You do what you gotta do. So, zoo. Let's look up a few definitions. Cambridge, Merriam-Webster, National Geographic, Wikipedia, Dictionary.com, and Collins. What have they got to say? These are all, you know, very well-known dictionaries, you know, verified dictionaries. I know because I've used most of these in school at some point. In zoos, a zoo is an area in which animals, especially wild animals, are kept so that people can look at them or study them. A place where there are a lot of people and their behavior is not well organized or controlled. Oh, that's just having a laugh. That's just a meme. But yeah, apparently a zoo is a chaotic place. Guys, I've got to be honest. There's the camera's in front of some of like the top of my screen, so I actually can't see where the mouse is right now. It's actually like I'm blind here. It's quite funny. Anyway, so essential meaning of zoo: a place where many kinds of animals are kept so that people can see them. Okay. Zoo is a place where animals live in captivity and put on display for people to view. The word zoo is short for zoological park. Now, this is something that is not well known. I didn't know this. Zoological park. That is what zoo is short for. A park based on zoology. Zoology is the study of, like, wild animals. A zoo, short for zoological garden, also called an animal park or a menagerie, is a facility in which animals are housed within an enclosures cared for, displayed to the public, and in some cases bred for conservation purposes. Also called zoological garden, a park-like area in which animals are kept in cages or large enclosures for public exhibition. Whatever. A zoo is a park where animals live, that some people that look at them. So, I'm seeing common threads with every single one of these definitions, okay? Zoo definition / criteria. So, our definition of zoo, we can be absolutely sure it's an enclosure, or let me just make sure I'm reading this right. A place, a garden, park. It's a park-like area, so it's an enclosure, park type of area where animals are kept. Alright, so wild animals kept inside and is made for people to look at. It is for public presentation. Okay? These are what I'm noticing are the common underlying, aspects of the definition of zoo here. It's an enclosure, it's a park type of area. The wild animals are kept aside, specifically wild, not just any animals, and it's for public presentation / for people to look at, okay? So we made that the right size there, okay? So if we just put together all the definitions from all the different dictionaries there, it's zoological park, that's the abbreviation, okay? And we've got all of our articles here. I think I put them in the order I want to read them in. Okay. This is a zoological park. I think I've spelled that wrong. It's not zoo here, it's zoo. Zoological park. Enclosure park type of area. Don't need to put that in. Park where animals are kept inside for public presentation / for people to look at. Okay. So that is the only definition of zoo. Any other aspects of a zoo are not strictly within the definition, but if something doesn't meet this definition, it's not a zoo. It is a park where wild animals are kept for public presentation, okay? I want you all to keep this in mind, because it's very important for later. That is the definition of the word zoo. So, we have several different articles here, and I believe I want to read them in order. So these are actually in backwards order right here. I believe that is the correct order. We want to go petful, debating, tree hugger, pro and con, outward. Petful, debating, tree hugger, pro and con list, outwit trade. Okay. Because I want to start with more informational ones and then move on to more opinionated ones. I'm going to keep Mithran's text on screen, so I'm going to read about this after I've gone over, some of the information here. And you guys, I want you to start putting your opinions in chat, and I will come back and read them soon. But for now, I'm just going to have a look through these and kind of take you through these articles quickly. So, are zoos ethical? Let's talk about zoos and animal welfare. I'm not going to lie, this music is like really... It's kind of distracting me. It's kind of off pace. It's too loud. I don't know what it is. Here we go. This is better. We've already listened to you, though. That'll do. Guys, tell me if the audio needs changing, if the balance is okay or not. But yeah. So here we are. Are zoos ethical? Does the zoo experience as amusement for humans justify wild animals living in captivity? That has been a big dilemma facing the future of zoos as we know them. Is captivity for conservation a sustainable justification to keep zoos in existence? Animal welfare-minded people understand that the purpose of zoos as entertainment is a thing of the past. really just think about this for a moment, guys. Let me go find the thumbnail. Let me look at the thumbnail. Don't mind me going through all my folders here. There's been some new uploads to the side channels, by the way. You can actually, I'm not going to show these off now, there's no point, but yeah, there's some new thumbnails. Excuse me. Fun fact, I actually make all the thumbnails for Matt's the Mist and Hydrated Highlights. So, if I go over to, where is it? Debate Direct, here we go. These are not in order. Man, look at all these thumbnails. Debate Direct, 49. Look at the thumbnail. Here's some examples, guys. We got gorilla, monkey, we got a polar bear, we got some giraffes, and you can see a city skyline in the background. Think about where these animals are in the world. These animals are native to the poles and the Sahara, but here they are in the middle of the northern hemisphere, chilling in a garden. Interesting. Get out of here, insects. So, most first-class zoos have evolved from virtual circuses into institutions fostering education and conservation programs. Zoos strengthen the human-animal bond, zoo proponents claim, and educate people to be more aware of and have empathy for animals. Are these reasons good enough to justify widespread captivity? You know, it's a balance, isn't it? It's a trade-off. You know, is this widespread captivity of keeping these animals in a place that is not, you know, natural for them, you know, worth this? Because that is a bad thing, isn't it? Let's look into this more deeply. As animal welfare advocates aggressively continue to change public opinion... as animal welfare advocates aggressively continue to change public opinion, and as more is discovered about the animal brain, the emotional life of animals, can we really argue that zoos are ethical still? Because there's a lot of pros and cons. So, this person writes this article, and yeah, animal welfare and conservation are considered dual goals for zoos in the modern day. And this person is a veterinarian, apparently. And like many kids, I was fascinated by animals. You know, they watched this movie, they read this book, whatever. You know, they were all about animals as a kid. At the age of 2, all puffed up in a pink cupcake dress. Man, my first trip to the Bronx Zoo was memorialized in a bit of 1950s home footage. So this woman's old. In the 1950s, when she was just 2 years old, puffed up in a pink cupcake of a dress, she gawked at this magnificent gorilla behind metal bars and a cement block, pointing and waving my tiny fingers at his magnificent head. And then he proceeded to urinate all over me in my dad's arms. So, this woman in the Bronx, that's New York, kind of near that area, I think. I'm not sure, I'm not American. I had insulted his grandeur, one that belonged in a lush jungle, not in the Bronx. His act of defiance told me exactly how this animal felt to be locked up in that cage. I don't visit many zoos my adulthood, then my twins are born. Now this, you know, anecdote goes on, but it kind of puts across the same point. Now the 1950s was a while ago, a lot has changed since then, but this woman's really pushing for animal welfare in zoos, because this experience she had as a child deeply affected her understanding of, you know, zoos. This animal, you know, was locked up in a cage and was very unhappy with it. And, you know, was hostile to the guests. And, you know, we have, you know, lots of other examples of poor treatment of animals here. Big cats pacing and circling the perimeter of the cement cages smaller than my living room. A big cat is a big cat, okay? A regular cat will probably do fine in a living room. But obviously, you know cats, they like to explore. You can let them out, they're not like dogs. They're smart, they'll look after themselves. But a big cat needs a big savanna to roam around in to be truly happy and to, you know, live to its fullest as, you know, a natural, you know, an animal that's naturally evolved for that environment. Being put in this small cement and iron cell to be gawked at by humans, you know, it just isn't right, is it? I gaze at giraffes munching on vegetation while in earshot of city traffic. You see these fellas in the thumbnail? How do you think they feel about, you know, being near all the city traffic and all of the, you know, noise? Because they're not used to it, you know? Does that affect animals? Do we know? You know, do these guys mind the noise or the pollution, perhaps, the air? You know, are they uncomfortable? What about the wolves stalking back and forth on a small hitty hillside? Hadn't things changed, I thought? Weren't these small display enclosures a thing of the past? And yeah, that's the end of that article. Just a bit of an introduction, just a bit of a taste, just to really get you thinking. Dr. Deborah Lichtenberg, VMD. Very good, Deborah. Deborah? Deborah. Yeah, guys, Dr. Deborah, it's Deborah. Oh my god. Deborah, I'm sorry, mate. I guess Mrs. Lichtenberg or Miss Lichtenberg, I have no idea. Ms. Lichtenberg, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, very good article. Here's some more. Are zoos unethical? Are they unethical? I mean, would you assume them to be either ethical or unethical? They're, you know, an accepted thing and have been for ages. They must be ethical, right? Well, once upon a time, rare and exotic animals were the exclusive preserve of the aristocracy. Royal menageries served as displays of wealth and sophistication. In the 19th century, however, public zoos emerged as a great democratizing institutions, giving ordinary Europeans the chance to see these animals up close. Their mission was to entertain and educate the masses, opening up opportunities to everyone that were previously only available to the very rich. Today, however, technology has made it possible for ordinary people to observe animals in their natural environment. Wildlife documentaries shot on ultra-high definition with innovations such as underwater cameras and drones and night vision offer a view of animals that zoos might struggle to match. Given that alternatives now exist, especially in this age of, you know, remote, digital, you know, pushed faster, you know, accelerated by the quarantine and the COVID-19, of all this remote technology and, you know, exploration that people can do in the wild and, you know, send back to the rest of the world via, you know, video and, you know, documentaries and whatnot. Given that these alternatives now exist, is it unethical to keep and display animals in captivity? What should be the place of zoos in the 21st century? Now, this was made on World Animal Day. And World Animal Day is a chance to reflect on our relationship with the animal world. The 4th of October, I just realized that was literally a week ago. That was a week ago. It was World Animal Day a week ago, guys. So, it's a day to reflect on seeing wildlife up close, the effect it can have on young people and children, fostering lifelong of animals in the environment, blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, zoos across the world are keeping many endangered animal species safe from extinction. And they can collaborate with research institutions in the name of science and understanding. But on the other hand, we hear stories of inbreeding, routine killing of surplus animals, and abuse of animals. And obviously, there are links, you know, of articles from, you know, verified newspapers on this kind of thing. The New Yorker, The Independent, The Guardian. And, yeah, there's a lot of things that people are arguing about here. This article basically shows a load of people's opinions and thoughts on the matter, which is really interesting, and a bit of a Q&A. So I'm just going to have a quick read of this, and we're going to see what the folks have to say. So, Doug Kress, Chief Executive Officer at the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums, aka WAZA. Wait, Antonio's comment. Oh, right. So this is a question, it's an answer. Someone from Antonio suggested that visiting animals in a zoo can encourage a love of the environment and a desire to protect it. Now, Mr. Kress here, who is an expert in the field, obviously, says that yes, seeing animals in the right zoo or captive setting can have a profound effect and can lead to a love of the environment, and zoos and aquariums are easy to have that impact on visitors every day. But zoos and aquariums must give the public the full story and explain not only the threats to the environment and the animal's natural habitat, illegal hunting, deforestation, human encroachment, disease, but also the ways in which the public can help ensure the long-term survival of wildlife and wild spaces. It is not enough to hope that visiting a zoo and gazing at animals is enough. But we need to be clear. In today's world, a visit to the zoo is the only connection with nature that many people will have, and animals in zoo and aquariums are the only wildlife that they will ever encounter, and that's why they're important. To get another perspective, we also spoke to Pierre Sultana, Director of the EU Policy on Four Paws, an international animal charity. So this is basically, we got an EU representative and a charity CEO here. This guy says that it depends on the zoos. If animals are kept behind bars in small enclosures, sometimes with concrete floors and without any enrichment possibility, as unfortunately is still the case in some substandard zoos all over the world, the connection to the environment is non-existent, and the educational side of the zoo can really be questioned. I just wanted to zoom in, but now, okay, look, I'll agree. It's fine. Oh my god, fine, I'll agree. Chill. Let me go back. But anyway, as this guy was saying, these kind of zoos can even contribute to develop bad behaviors towards the animals and the environment. On the contrary, if zoos provide species-appropriate enclosures and offer the animals the possibility to be seen in all their majesty in an appropriate surrounding environment, zoos can certainly contribute to educating younger generations and developing a desire to protect the environment and the animals living there. They also contacted the Party for Animals, which is a political party in the Netherlands, which, though small, has seats in the Dutch House of Representatives and the Senate. They weren't able to put anybody forward to the interview in the time of publication, but they did release a statement which says here that the party believes that zoos in current form are no longer necessary in this day and age. We want to convert them into temporary shelters for animals who cannot live in their original habitat or cannot be put back into the wild. We warmly welcome the fact that people want to learn more about wild animals. In addition, we are in favour... It says flavour. I think it meant favour. In addition, we are in favour of introducing children from an early age to the beauty and value of nature and the animals that live there. But with literature, documentaries, and beautiful 3D films, a child would get a better picture of how the animals live in the wild instead of captivity. For the conservation of species, the fight against the disappearance of animal habitats is the most important thing, a struggle that the party does like no other. Breeding programs for zoos are unfortunately unsuccessful when it comes to the recovery of populations. However, there are surpluses of animals as a result of the breeding programs. As a result, thousands of healthy animals are killed every year in European zoos, even the Netherlands. More and more experts point to the impairment of the welfare that animals kept in the zoo. A documentary by the BBC showed that 80% of the carnivores in captivity are disturbed stereotypical behaviour. At all times, tighter housing requirements must apply that approach to their natural living conditions as much as possible. These changes do not necessarily mean that visitors are no longer welcome, but that the function of the zoo changes as far as we are concerned, and that the interests are paramount. The interests of animals are paramount. Blech. Wow. So much information. What do we think so far? I know I'm going to be rambling your head off with this, guys, but don't worry. This is supposed to be the first half of the stream. I just want to read this all through, and then we can get on to the debating. Are aquariums ethical? We can include aquariums in this. Aquariums, I mean, they're not too different from zoos. It's just a zoo for fish. So aquariums are included. Zoos and aquariums. I'm changing the title. Are zoos and aquariums, which I'm going to put in brackets. I meant to put that in uppercase, actually. Are zoos and aquariums ethical? Hold on. Because actually, I do want to put that in there. There we go. Is that... Did I spell that right? That doesn't look right to me. How are we doing anyway? Yeah. SPL's got a QOTD. GGM is here. Hello? Turn your volume up. Is the sound... It looks fine for me. Tell me if there's any stream problems, guys. But I am seeing and hearing clearly. But yeah, interesting. Flavor must be a typo. I don't think anyone would want a taste of wild animals. No, DJ. That is quite right. You know, I did spell that correctly. Good, good. And yeah... that's really interesting, actually. I'll read through these soon, but I want to finish reading this. So, again, we also have the comment from Shauna, who thinks that confining animals in small spaces is wrong, and that animals should have the most natural life possible. Are zoos in Europe able to provide this? Doug Crest says that zoos and aquariums in Europe do provide the most natural life possible for the animals in their care, often because there is no other option. Natural spaces and habitats for animals, you know, are often lost, and are not fit for these animals anymore. It's led to massive declines in species numbers, and conservation is really the only, the intervention of conservation is the only remaining hope for captive breeding programs, as well as captive breeding programs, to stabilize species until suitable habitats can be found and protected. So obviously, individual zoos and aquariums, they're all privately owned. Well, I guess there might be some state ones, I don't know. They need to take responsibility for telling these stories properly to the general public. But the alternative is not as simple as turning formerly captive animals loose into the wild, where they could encounter hunters, a lack of food, diseases, and a host of other deadly threats. So, Doug Cress is arguing, actually, that zoos and aquariums are needed. Because the most natural life possible, letting them loose into the wild, is actually in many cases more dangerous. But what's important is the human managers of these locations taking responsibility, for the location. Pierre Sultana from Four Paws says that animals should be always offered species-specific living conditions. They should be able to express their natural behaviour and have happy lives. And this is not only true for zoo animals, but all kept animals, domesticated things like dogs and cats as well. Luckily, standards have increased and improved over the last few years. And unfortunately, this does go with the financial cost that can mean, because living conditions can mean lower density, maybe less animals of less species if the zoo cannot expand geographically, and that leads to investments in new buildings and stuff. To give the animals more space, it's very expensive, and less animals can be kept. And that's why some substandard zoos, which cannot pay for the investments needed to improve the living conditions of the animals, can be in a difficult situation, as they'll be less attractive to visitors and therefore fall into a vicious circle, and are more inclined to look for alternative sources of financing, which are not always legal or ethical. And that really is a shame, but poverty is a thing. And I mean, who thinks of zoos? When I think, we've got to fix poverty, let's tax the rich properly and improve infrastructure, you don't think of zoos or theatres, do you? Because those are really kind of like, you know, those are luxuries. They're not really like the first thing that comes, you know, to mind. Finally, what about the challenge of technology? Do zoos need to innovate to stay relevant, especially now that we have documentaries shot by drones and high-definition cameras? We had a skeptical comment from Agnes. Oops, I didn't mean to click that. We had a skeptical comment from Agnes, who thinks that direct personal experiences cannot be replaced by technology. Is she right? Mr. Cressy says that the answer is not binary, it is not yes or no. Rapid advances in technology such as drones are powerful conservation tools, allowing us to count orangutans in high nests in the forest company, identify illegal logging, or record whales and dolphins at play in the sea. But those images cannot replace a personal experience with an animal, nor should they. Taken together, these resources form a collective experience that can inspire humans to dedicate their lives to the study or protection of wildlife. And Mr. Sultana also says that innovation can have different meanings. Of course, zoos need to innovate to attract visitors, as most businesses, and zoos have become increasingly innovative in the last few years. Innovation has to serve not only the visitors and employees of the zoos, however, but also the animals themselves. Investments into innovation have to be in accordance with the general situation of the zoo. Where a wealthy zoo could probably invest into drones and other ICT, a substandard zoo should be in priority investment into improving the quality of life of the animals, rebuilding and maybe expanding, I think that's supposed to say, the enclosures, or in training their staff. So, obviously, Pierre Sultana has a very pragmatic and economical view of this, you know. Small zoos should just focus on the basics, quality of life for animals, training staff, expanding, but, you know, richer ones can, you know, invest in fancy new technology. And, you know, we have a lot of other things that are interesting here, you know. Doug Kress here is really thinking about, you know, both sides of the story, and it was very interesting. I think that the political party was a odd inclusion, but it was really interesting to hear from these guys. And if you want to answer any of these questions, guys, you know, go ahead in the comments, and we'll get to it soon. I just want to look at the next article. Let's close these down. This one is about, thank you. This one is about arguments for and against keeping animals in zoos. Do animals still have a place in, you know, do zoos still have a place in the world? You see this little diagram here, which is quite nice. You know, many would argue that they can educate the public, foster an appreciation for other species, but also animals in captivity suffer from boredom, stress, confinement. Some say that zoos can save endangered species by bringing them into a safe environment. However, the vast majority of captive breeding programs do not release animals back into the wild, so it's permanent. And removing individuals from the natural habitat endangers the wild population. Again, I'm not going to read through everything because it's going to take too long, but if you want to read these articles for yourselves, the links, I'm really just realized how low I'm sitting, the links are in the description if you want to go check them out. Let me just, boom, there we go. That looks good, doesn't it? I'm not going to read through the whole thing in detail because it would take too long, but if you want to check this out, the link's in the description. So, there's a little bit of brief history here. Zoos have been around as long as we have, you know, dating back to Mesopotamia and Egypt. And it's really just a question of, you know, does the violation of animal rights, which it kind of is, you know, justify the benefits of zoos? Now, arguments for often go along these lines. Education, appreciation, protection of endangered species, breeding programs, you know, to restore endangered species. And, you know, there are lots of associations and charities that make sure that there are reputable zoos that hold high standards about treating animals well. You know, health, nutrition, that kind of thing. You know, an enriched habitat in which the animals never bored, well cared for, plenty of space. You know, zoos are a tradition. It's a wholesome family activity. Real Orthrite moment there. And you know, there's also the matter that, you know, seeing an animal in person is a much more personal and more memorable experience than just seeing an animal in a nature documentary. It is more real, you know. Seeing in real life it's a different experience. You know, rehabilitation, taking in exotic pets that people no longer want or are able to care for, lots of benefits. But the arguments against go along these lines. From an animal rights standpoint, humans have no right to breed, capture, or confine other animals, even if they're endangered. Being a member of an endangered species doesn't mean the individual animal should be afforded fewer rights. And, you know, Animals in captivity do suffer from boredom, stress, confinement, and, you know, they lack one of those basic things of the wild, freedom, even if they're well cared for. Intergenerational bonds are broken when individuals are sold or traded to other zoos. So, you know, parent and children, like, split apart. Baby animals bring in visitors and money, but this incentive to breed new baby animals leads to overpopulation. And surplus animals are sold not only to other zoos, but also to circuses and hunting facilities. Some zoos simply kill their surplus animals outright. That's horrific. Then the vast majority of captive breeding programs, they don't release animals back into the wild. The offspring are forever part of a chain of zoos, circuses, petting zoos, etc. that is generally quite exploitative. And these animals never experience, you know, the natural life of their ancestors. Removing individual specimens from the wild further endangers the wild population, because the remaining individuals will be less genetically diverse and may have greater difficulty finding mates. There's some science for you. Maintaining species diversity within captive breeding facilities is also a challenge. And if people do want to see wild animals in real life, they can observe wildlife in the wild or visit a sanctuary. A true sanctuary does not buy, sell, or breed animals, but instead takes in unwanted exotic pets, surplus animals from zoos, or injured wildlife that can no longer survive in the wild. So this sanctuary thing, this is different. This is not a zoo. The Federal Animal Welfare Act, which sounds American to me, I'm not sure what that is, only, you know, establishes the most minimal standards. And, you know, reading between the lines of the legal pattern here, there's a lot of often, like, you know, violations and inadequacy, you know, under the Welfare Act, according to this writer. And, you know, sometimes animals escape their enclosures, which can endanger people because often, you know, people ignore warnings, get too close to the animals go crazy because they've been locked up. And such a horrific outcome that you may all be familiar with is, of course, Harambe. A 17-year-old Western lowland gorilla who was shot in 2016 when a toddler accidentally fell into his enclosure at the Cincinnati Zoo. While the child survived and was not badly injured, the gorilla was killed outright. Can we all just have a moment of silence? Alright. Dicks out for Harambe. Rest in peace. I'm not putting my dick out on camera, so. Oh, there we go. Oh, right. Anyway, but yeah, what happened with Harambe was an atrocity. It was really sad. That actually upset me when I heard about that because it was just such an unfair situation. The gorilla got killed for escaping the zoo. The last word that this writer has on here, who wrote this, Doris Lynn, the last thing that I think she has to say about this is that in making a case for or against zoos, both sides argue that they're saving animals. Whether or not zoos benefit the animal community, they certainly do make money. As long as there is demand for them, zoos will continue to exist. Since zoos are likely an inevitability, the best way to move forward is to ensure that zoo conditions are the best possible for the animals that live in captivity, and that individuals who violate animal care, health, and safety sanctions are not only duly punished, but denied any future access to animals. So Doris here is really advocating for reform over revolution, and, you know, is really looking at pragmatically in the fact that, you know, the experience of going to a zoo is a service, it's a commodity, everything is. So, if there's demand, there will be supply. So, let's reform them, make them the best they can be, since they're never going to be banned, because they'll always exist. Is that true, though? Again, let's look at another article. We've got two more now, really getting into the opinions. And, you know what, actually, I'm going to read some of what chat has to say. I've been doing a lot of reading, let's break it up a little. I'm going to read some of what chat has to say, and then I'm going to go back to reading this. So Mithran earlier said, I can't be here because I have to sleep, but I'll say some thoughts. Some zoos are ethical because they try to raise money and awareness to endangered species or change people's perception of certain species. Some zoos even fund projects to preserve some species, and some zoos even do this themselves. And in most developed countries, there are rules and regulations to ensure the welfare of the animals so the animals are comfortable and able to live. Some zoos even do better than the basic regulations. You know, we just saw with an example, guy from the EU was, you know, talking about regulations just like that. Mithran, however, also says that although there are zoos that are bad, and bad for animals themselves, and that they're just to capitalize on animals, getting as much money out of them as they can, in the cheapest possible conditions, some zoos are good and some are bad. Mostly good. So Mithran's mostly positive. He thinks there are more good zoos than bad zoos, and I suppose that's quite subjective, but a fair argument, I think. What do you guys have to say? In response to the QOTD, which is also the title, are zoos ethical? You guys are saying... Just gonna catch up on chat. SPL Studios. Zoos are not ethical. Zoos are literally just prisons for animals. Certain animals meant for warm climates, but where I live, zoos are often popular when it's hot outside. Certain animal zoos choose to lock up aren't actually suitable as zoo animals. I recall one visit to the zoo we had in summer camp, and one exhibit was closed due to hostile animals. I get zoos want to save animal lives, but I think they can do so with animals that can handle the zoo's location. Too hot? Then I put something like a penguin in there. And yeah, that's a fair argument. I mean, one of the biggest things about animal comfort, as well as obviously having the correct food and space, is climate, temperature. You know, you put a penguin, you know, closer to the equator in a zoo in, like, Europe. Unless, I don't know, you've got a way of keeping the place cool and, you know, having, you know, water access and all of that kind of thing, they're not going to do well. Same with the polar bears. I mean, look at this boy on the thumbnail. Does he look happy to you? Do they look happy? What about the giraffes who need a hotter climate than New York or Sydney or wherever this is going to provide? What about the gorillas? Harambe. Gorillas got shot up. And yeah. DJ says that I think one positive thing is that we can learn about animals that are going extinct to hopefully help slow down or saving an animal that's going to be extinct. So conservation, very important, I agree. And yeah, Livy, you're right. Aquariums are pretty much underwater zoos with, you know, fish and sea creatures. So we can include aquariums in this, guys. You know, fish. I don't know much about it. There is a garden centre near where I live, several actually, so I've seen a few mini aquariums. I've been in a couple of aquariums, nothing huge, nothing fancy, but I've been to a local aquarium before. It was like a couple rooms just full of fish tanks, pretty interesting stuff, and they seem well cared for. I did always feel like it was a bit strange because these fish would normally have huge spaces, but I don't know much about the reputation. I think they were at least 4 stars. They weren't like doing anything shady. It wasn't a shady place, but you know, you do wonder about the morality of it. As for zoos, I don't know if I've ever been to a zoo. I think I have, but it's been such a long time. I'll come back to that later. Because I'm not putting my personal opinion yet until the end, alright? I'm saving my opinion for the end. So, exactly. People trying to get... Yeah, exactly. Harambe. Yeah. So, Livy's going to use a really weird comparison here, but hear me out. The first Madagascar movie shows us the animal's perspective. So you have Alex and Melman who rely on the zoo for medicine and food. So basically, there are some animals that thrive living in a zoo because of the fact that they provide the necessities that animals need. Now, I wouldn't call the Madagascar movies a reliable source of evidence. However, you know, that is a fact that, you know, the animals are dependent on the zoos. Is it a healthy dependency, though? Livy says that, however, we then have the animals like the penguins and Marty who aren't happy living in an enclosure because, and I quote, "It's just not natural. It just isn't natural." I was actually trying to do the Thomas Connor voice from Bendy because he says a line. He's like, "Whatever this, it just isn't natural." But anyway, GDM creates. Some are definitely trying, but I know that there are a couple places around here that will pass day-old animals around to hundreds of kids in a day and don't even try to mimic normal environments. Again, it really depends on our experiences. There's lots of different zoos, you know, lots of different, you know, places around, you know, wherever you live specifically, you know, that may be different from each other. Obviously, Octodad was horrified. I remember Octodad. Octodad's a classic. But yeah, Octodad is obviously horrified at seeing his fellows trapped in a zoo. Now, let's move on back to this, and let's just read through the next 2 articles. We've already done the first 3. Wait, I can't count. One of them's missing. Oh, I closed Petful. I need to keep this open. Petful, I need to keep you open. There we go. Yeah. So, I'm just gonna move this down, back down to here. So yeah, there we go. Pro and con list. Zoos, as you can imagine, have a considerable history. The first modern zoo was opened in Paris, France in 1793. The early objectives were primarily entertainment and education, and those certainly remain true today. In more recent times, however, conservation specifically has also become a primary objective. It is fair to ask, though, if zoos are ethical. Excuse me. Whether or not you view zoos as good or bad probably has quite a little bit to do with the quality of the zoos you are familiar with. There are undoubtedly some zoos and exhibits that offer animals a questionable quality of life. But on the whole, how do the pros and cons of zoos stack up? Again, entertainment is a terrific, zoos are a terrific source of entertainment. You can see that the San Diego Zoo in the USA welcomed more than 4 million visitors in 2018. Education's also part of quite a big aspect of zoos. The smells, the unedited footage, the unfiltered sounds all contribute to an experience that video footage can't replicate. Visiting animals in person. Research. The ability to study animals in a safe, controlled environment gives researchers a chance to learn about animal diets, reproductive habits, social tendencies, and indeed, their full life cycle. This knowledge can help environmental scientists protect and manage animal populations in the wild, and has already proven massively important. Conservation is a big thing these days. The current extinction rate is shocking. According to the Center for Biological Diversity, which is global, dozens of species go extinct every day, and as many as 30 to 50% of all species could be heading towards extinction by the middle of the century. Zoos can provide a safe haven for vulnerable species by providing a controlled, stable environment with reproductive support. And, that attracts attention of, other endangered species and activists who can all work together, conservation efforts, and... granted, a vast majority of the species fighting extinction will never be considered candidates for zoo exhibits, but the benefit for those we do see is still real. And those are the positives. Entertainment, education, research, conservation. Big four. Really think about those guys. Here's the cons. Animal dependency. While many animals are able to breed successfully in captivity, the offspring who grow up in the zoo environment never have the opportunity to learn the survival skills needed for life in the wild. As most will never be reintroduced to native habitats, this is not always a big disadvantage, but it does change a fundamental part of the nature of the animal. It also means that captive breeding will also be limited, as a strategy for reintroduction is a method of population growth. So the animals become dependent, as Olivia was saying before. Education. Yes, this was listed as a pro as well. Isn't that funky? So education was a pro, but the value of education provided by zoos is debatable, so it's also a con. Some people will argue that what they really teach children is that animals exist solely for our entertainment, or that they belong in captivity. They may counter the argument that zoos teach children to be more empathetic toward animals by pointing out that children often have a natural empathy for animals, whether they have seen them in person or not. So, is education really a factor in zoos? Captivity. No matter how good a zoo is, it's just not possible for a captive habitat to fully replicate the experience of an animal living in the wild. The zoo may indeed be safer and more stable in some instances, but those benefits come at the expense of a fully natural environment that supported the evolution of the animal in the first place. There are also ethical considerations of keeping animals in captivity, particularly when the enclosure is subpar. At the very least, zoos subjugate animals to a position beneath the status that they may enjoy in their native setting. We should ask ourselves if our ability to capture and display animals means that it is right to do so. And in conclusion, as a Procon editor, who wrote this? It doesn't say who wrote the article. As the writer says in their conclusion, for some people, the fundamental concept of a zoo is unethical. The popularity of zoos shows us, though, excuse the voice crack, excuse me, blimey, I sound like a 12-year-old again. The popularity of zoos shows us, however, that many people are comfortable with the idea. This could be because they have not given it much thought, or because they believe that the pros outweigh the cons. Questions of ethics are rarely answered in concrete terms. With regard to zoos, the advantages of education and species protection are notable. It seems that zoos can be ethical if they uphold high standards. Now this is the thing, guys, I'm going to be dead honest. Before I read these articles, I was definitely in that group of people who hadn't given this topic much thought. This is such a, obscure, it's definitely one of, the big kind of controversy topics you can talk about, animal rights, things like abortion and the death penalty, really popular controversy topics. But in life in general, this is a very obscure background kind of thing, which I've never really given thought. So here I am now, giving it thought for the first time. I've hardly ever been to a zoo before. It's going to be interesting. Let's read the last article, okay? Are zoos ethical? 9 people give their viewpoints. And here we have another beautiful big cat in its natural habitat, or not. Here is some kind of tiger, I believe that is. Remember guys, we're talking wild animals. Monkeys, gorillas, orangutans, giraffes, lions, panthers, leopards, tigers, rhinoceroses, hippos, elephants, and all the smaller ones as well. Loads. Monkey hooker. Monkey hooker? Hold up. But yeah, Mr. Beast visited the zoo in a video and did the salute to a gorilla, possibly Harambe statue of the boys. He did a salute to a Harambe statue. That's cool. But yeah. Yeah, it's a family kids movie, but I know where you're coming from, Libby. So, here are some statistics from the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, AZA. Accredited zoos and aquariums contributed more than 22.5 billion to the US economy in 2018. That's not as much as it sounds, because we're talking about the entire economy here. That's not as much as it sounds. It's still a significant amount, but it's not as much as it sounds. It did support, however, 198,000 jobs. That is a lot. That is a big deal. That's almost 200,000 jobs. That is more jobs than the entire population of my country. My country's entire... Actually, no, it's not. What am I saying? I'm getting the numbers wrong. That's like more jobs than the total population of, I think, like, children in this country. No, Platty, no collaborators today. No one replied, so no one's joined the stream. I'm on my own. Oh well, until next time. And yeah, over 200 million annual visitors. 183 million, you know, have been accredited to zoos and aquariums. So, excuse me, I'm yawning. Oh, excuse me. So, that supply and demand that was mentioned before by Doris is here again. Whether zoos serve a net positive and should be allowed to continue to run, much like the debate over the meat industry and veganism, is therefore a discussion we should be having. That is why we're publishing this piece, and they're also publishing comments, blah blah blah, so they can have a discussion, give you both sides of the spectrum, give as much information as possible to help you make up your own mind. Is my lighting doing okay? The sun went behind a cloud or something? I'm just gonna get my lamp on. Is that making a difference? You can see it, but it doesn't make much difference. I think I'm gonna leave it, to be honest. I think I can just keep that there, no problem. So, let me just read this. 9 comments, okay? And they've written stuff here, but you can read this yourself. You know, the links are in the description. But you're just gonna see what these 9 different people's opinions are. Conrad Youngling says, I find zoos to be depressing places. They profit off the capture and containment of exotic animals that should be left in the wild. While in captivity, those animals aren't afforded proper space to roam, and instead end up pacing back and forth in futility. While some zoos do offer conservation initiatives and breeding programs for endangered animals, it still doesn't mitigate the fact that they are exploiting animals for our entertainment. We could fund conservation initiatives without having to keep animals in small cages while people bang on the glass to make them move. Zoos being at the forefront of conservation is a fox in the henhouse kind of situation. Animals are sentient beings that should be allowed to live natural lives free from exploitation. Zoos, circuses, and roadside attractions will hopefully become a thing of the past in favour of animal sanctuaries, true conservation efforts, and protected habitats. So, Conrad really is against zoos. He wants to see them gone and really have them replaced by real conservation efforts. Perhaps like those sanctuaries that were mentioned previously. I'm also going to zoom this in so we can, like, it's really filling the screen. In a perfect world, zoos wouldn't exist, says John Pinedo. I think animals deserve to be free in nature and live their lives, but that's just not reality. Humankind will always find a way to capitalize on animals because the population, the masses, allows it by paying for zoo entry fees. That said, I do think it's ethical as long as there are checks and balances on how zoos treat their animals. So John Pinedo thinks zoos are bad, but they can be ethical, and demand means that will be supply, and we've got to be pragmatic. I think zoos are horrible, says Joe Flanagan. What is good for the conservation of animals are protection areas and parks where animals have proper habitats and spaces to live in comfortably. It is not that I am against having them captive, it is all about the circumstances and the space in which they live. Let's just remind ourselves real quick of the definition and criteria of the word zoo. It's a park where wild animals are kept inside for public presentation, okay? For animals that naturally should be living in large spaces to be confined in cell blocks and asphalt floors and with a little space to circle endlessly, it is beyond cruel. I am all about trying to keep alive species that are in danger of dying out due to loss of habitats, but only if we do it humanely and providing the best conditions for the animals. They should be provided with things to play, have space to run, and if possible, a chance to have a mate or a pag of some kind. After studying this issue for years, visiting zoos, medical facilities, conferring with zoo professionals, and studying in national parks and preserves around the world, I'm wholeheartedly against zoos, says Sarah Reidenbach. Okay, Sarah's an expert. Let's listen up. Because Sarah's had a lot of experience. Medical facilities, professionals, national parks, preserves. She's spent time with all of these things. She's wholeheartedly against zoos. While the debate could be long and complex, for me, it boils down to a consent issue. I can find no ethical argument that justifies our assumed entitlement over other beings' lives. I can find no justifiable reason for the suffering that we induce isolating and enclosing animals. These animals have done nothing wrong. There was no trial that found them guilty and then sentenced them to life in prison. As for our entertainment, our acceptance of this cruelty in this day and age is embarrassing. It is documented that zoos cannot provide sufficient space. It is documented that zoos unethically acquire animals, separate animals from their homes and families, and cause suffering in animals. It's well documented that animals psychologically and emotionally suffer in zoos. It's documented that abuse occurs in zoos because wild animals are difficult to manage. It's documented that living in zoos doesn't expand their lifespan, such as elephants, which live 3 times less in zoos. Listen up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is documented that surplus animals are killed. It is documented that conservation programs are more successful in the wild than in captivity. But even if someone could debate me on any of the topics above, it is simply not our right to make these decisions for them. If we recognize that animals have consciousness and can feel pain, as all reputable scientists now do, we cannot possibly, ethically, justify that it is okay to kidnap, rape, imprison, kill, or isolate. And she has spoken. Holy shit, that was powerful. I think that's persuaded me, guys. I think that is the most persuasive thing I've read today. There are arguments to be made, though. There are arguments to be made. Let's keep going. After having been in the zoo field for over 12 years, it's important to make a distinction, says Stephanie Mantilla. So again, we're getting quite a few experts and experienced, zoo workers and zoologists here. People who know what they're talking about. So these opinions aren't just any randomers. These are people who are very informed and very experienced in the area. Not all zoos are equal, and there is no comparison between an ASA accredited zoo versus an unaccredited roadside zoo or wild animal park. With the former, the facilities have to undergo rigorous accreditation and documentation for their high standards of care and policies. These include requirements for enrichment and mental stimulation that will encourage natural behaviours. There's no guarantee of the care the animals receive or breeding practices at unaccredited facilities, so supporting these should be done with caution. ASA accredited zoos work towards the conservation efforts of their wild counterparts. The animals in captivity are seen as ambassadors to get the public to care about and work towards saving species in the wild rather than solely for entertainment. While ideally, all animals would be in the wild, the truth is that there is currently little wild left. The remaining wild is quickly getting encroached upon by humans, which creates human and wildlife conflict, where the animals ultimately lose out. The best thing a concerned person can do is continue to support ASA accredited zoos that are making actual positive changes for animals, wild animals, and stop going to roadside zoos or ones that offer baby animal photo experiences. So that's about half. Let's keep going with these. What does Nancy Baker have to say? When I was a kid, I was always amazed at the animals in the zoo. I found it amazing seeing lions, giraffes, and zebras that you see on TV to be inches away from you. However, as I grew older and more knowledgeable I became, I felt sad for these animals. These animals are basically prisoners living in their small cages and being made as attractions for profit. It breaks my heart knowing that these animals will never be able to experience the vast open fields and experience the joys of life in their cages. I just don't like it. However, I do understand that by keeping animals in zoos, they are being protected and it prevents them from going extinct. However, I would prefer if these animals were placed in a wildlife reserve or an animal sanctuary, since reserves usually have larger rooms and areas for animals to roam around in. They also won't be subjected to psychological abuse from people, especially from those jerks who love throwing things at animals. I think, like almost every debate you can possibly have, all of this is coming down to one big thing. I want you all to think about this. Wow, can I not make that any bigger? Thank you. Does that actually change the font size? That's a bit strange. Wait, so when you... I'm not gonna... I don't know what that's about. But yeah, think about this, fellas. Alright? I don't consider zoos to be ethical, as it is imprisonment for the animal and robs their freedom and confines them in a small area, says Mark K. In this pandemic, people were asked to stay at the comfort of their home for a few weeks, and not many people could stay at home for a couple of days, as compared to many animals in the zoo who spent their whole life. Think about that, guys. Think about lockdown. Think about how it felt for you to spend weeks, months confined in your homes to avoid spreading the coronavirus. The quarantine, the pandemic, the lockdown. Think about it. Think about that. Do it for your whole life with these animals. And having everything provided to you. Or not even provided at all. The confinement also affects the physical and mental health of animals. The complex breeding program causes new animals to be born with several health issues. The animals in zoos are always at the mercy of handlers and most often get abused. Animals born in zoos could not learn the essential wild survival skills from their parents and lose touch with nature. It's animal cruelty, and as humans, we humans have a right to live, so do other animals. Flatty, I'll talk about my opinion at the end. Chirp's playing nice, the lighting seems alright, but yeah. I would have joined, but Mother wanted to watch Squid Game. Yeah, you gotta watch Squid Game, guys. Squid Game, I've been hearing about Squid Game. Very exciting. I really like the Battle Royale genre. I've been playing Fall Guys. I think I might watch Squid Game. It actually looks really fun. And it's really interesting that we're getting a show that is popular all across the world, you know, here, that isn't actually in English. So you actually have to use subtitles to actually understand what the characters are saying, unless you know Korean. Because it was made in Korea, I believe, which is really interesting. It's really interesting and diverse, and I love that Netflix is promoting this. It's done really well. Just make sure the camera's angled okay. Oh boy, sorry guys, hold on. My camera's not angled very well. I need to make sure that's it needs to be a little bit further down. There we go. But anyway, there are so many reasons why zoos are important, says Maria Healy. There are so many reasons why zoos are important, and it's true that for every excellent zoo, there are others that are not. But I am a firm advocate for zoos, and here's one of the reasons why. There's an old saying, out of sight, out of mind. It's easy to not care about something that isn't currently right in front of you, and it's especially easy not to care about something that you've never seen before. That's why we have museums, right? They put history in front of our faces and ignite our interest in a way a classroom never can. And I can confirm this. I don't think I've been to a zoo maybe once when I was 7. I barely remember it. I've been to many, many museums over the years, recently and long ago, and they have really ignited my interest in history, among other things. I love museums. Museums are awesome. Zoos, aquariums, and other similar institutions are like living museums. They put these rare and endangered animals right in front of our faces, teach us something about them, and bam, a connection is formed that wasn't there before. Conservation is dead if we can't get people to care, and among the many roles that zoos play in our society, they get people to care. Finally, a really good pro-zoo argument. A lot of anti-zoo arguments here, but Healy here has a very interesting take. And what do we have from Eugene Romberg, the final opinion on this article by Katie Holmes? Eugene Romberg, the last opinion, says that I believe the stories we hear about zoos are most commonly the bad ones, where animals are abused and neglected. I also believe that zoos are ethical, if they are responsible zoos that exist to nurture and promote the conservation of animals. We are currently in the 6th Great Mass Extinction, in which humans are the ones causing the extermination of animals, not nature. In today's modern zoos and aquariums, their research is funded for the sole purpose of propagating a species, with an end goal of reintroducing a formerly endangered or critically endangered species back into the wild. Even when they are not reintroduced into the wild, by placing these animals under human care, in which all zoos have to be verified by the Humane Conservation Program, researchers gain the ability to protect wild animals by creating vaccines against diseases, mating programs, and the continual study of making the animal's life/habitat more comfortable for them. Oh my god, all these wires are in the way. Please, just fuck off. Get it out of my hand. There is a vast empirical and academic research which demonstrate the fact that animals in responsible, verified zoos live healthier and longer lives. As conservation of animals becomes more of a goal for legislation, President Donald Trump has even made animal cruelty a level 1 federal felony. I did not know that. That is interesting. We are in an age in which protests and social media have a strong hand in deciding which zoos and aquariums stay in business, and for those that treat animals humanely, they have stayed around and are continuing to do work for the betterment of those lovable creatures. So actually some pro-zoo arguments at the end, which really, really does make you think. There's a lot here. There's a lot to talk about. So let's get into this. Chat. After going through all of this, after thinking about the definition of zoo, the criteria, a park where wild animals are kept for public presentation. When you think about how, you know, animals are trapped in small spaces with cement and asphalt and metal bars, about the answers to questions, you know, about how, let me see, that, you know, visiting the animals in the zoo can actually encourage a love of the environment, or maybe it actually educates children that, you know, animals are meant to be in zoos, which is wrong. You know, think about the political agenda of the Party for Animals. You know, conservation, you know, the science, the research. And, you know, what about confining animals in spaces? Is it, you know, justified by, you know, the risks of animals, you know, being, you know, free in the wild? Again, safety versus freedom. Is dying free better than living, you know, in confinement? Would Pierre Sultana was talking from Fourport about, you know, species-specific conditions, you know, what are the requirements for a good zoo? What's the difference between a good zoo and a bad zoo? Think about the, you know, balance of that. And is technology making zoos redundant? So many different cases and arguments and ideas here. We've got all these pros and cons on the list here, you know, which roughly boil down to entertainment, research, conservation, dependency, education, captivity. And, you know, think about what the 9 people here have been saying. People who have lots of years of experience working with and around zoos. You know, is the very idea of them unethical? Are they depressing? Are they unnatural? You know? Is there a way of maintaining a zoo which, you know, is valid? Or are these zoos simply wrong in all and every case? What do we honestly think, guys? Now that we've taken all the time to look through that, what do we think? I've been streaming for 1 hour, 13 minutes, and I really want to hear your opinions for a little bit now. So let's just stick around here, start reading, let's have a chat. Spring Lives, hello, welcome! In the Portuguese zoo, the monkeys got depressed because they didn't see people, and in Portugal, the animals even have an acceptable cage size. So you're talking about during lockdown, monkeys got depressed because they didn't have visitors. So there really were human-animal bonds going on there. Former president made that a thing. It's a very obscure thing, DJ. I wouldn't put it down to the former president's greatness. I'm sure other people were really... I'm sure other people were really, you know, the ones, you know, investing out. Any president could have done that. Ugh, because progressives are forcing everybody's hand. And I don't want to talk about Trump. I don't want to talk about Trump, guys. I don't think zoos are cool on the animal side. Yeah. So we've already had some good QOTDs from SBL, who is vehemently against zoos just because they are effectively prisons. And, you know, DJ had a QOTD, I think. Where is it? GGM Create says that some are definitely trying, but I know that there are a couple of places around here that will pass day-old animals to hundreds of kids in a day and don't even try to mimic normal environments. I think I read that already, I'm not sure. Didn't, someone had a QOTD? No. SBL's QOTD pasted twice. I'm going to count Mithran Singh as a QOTD because that's basically what it is. Mithran says that, you know, zoos are bad for animals, you know, some are good, most are good, but some are bad. There are rules and regulations in developed countries, but some are done purely for profit. It's not great. You know, feel free to just give me all of your QOTDs, fellas. Are zoos ethical? I'm going to start talking about my opinion in a bit. I just want to make some notes. But yeah, really think about these. I just really want to just point these out, really. Because I think this is something I need to talk about in maybe the next stream. Oh, we dropped a few frames on the stream according to OBS. Tell me if there's any lag issues, guys. It looks fine right now because it's very few. It's just a couple dozen frames. But tell me if there's a problem. But yeah. What do we think? Yeah. Again, it's a fine balance, isn't it, Spring? Treat animals badly, but there's also true that treat animals, you know, that give animals the help they need. Okay, we look like we're losing a lot of frames right now. I just want to make sure I don't need to switch to another network or anything. Tell me if there's any serious lag issues, guys. I'm just gonna look at the stream preview to make sure that we're good. How are we looking? I am seeing some lag. Are the frame drops that it still says excellent connection on the page for me, but I'm seeing the lag. Tell me if the frames get bad, guys. Freedom! Freedom! What are you apologizing for, Spring? It's okay. I am... Man, the frames really are dropping. It looks like we're okay now. I can see them freezing. Now they're smooth. Drop frames. Still going up. Wow, we actually are having quite a few drop frames right now. I think I'm going to switch to my data just because I don't want to have to deal with this right now, fellas. So please stand by. The stream's going to pause for a moment. I just want to switch to a different network. Hopefully this will help. So, just a moment. In fact, I'm going to take a break before I come back and discuss my opinion. So, if you guys are enjoying, leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and share this with your friends. All the support is very much appreciated. I will be right back, okay? Give me 1 minute. I'm just going to go onto a different network. If it could just please show up. Where is it? Where's Chunga Central? Here it is. Alright, I'll see you guys in 5 minutes. Hello, I'm back. Fellas, I'm not even joking. I'm so hungry right now, and there's nothing to eat in the house. There is no food. I'm hungry, but I can't munch. There is no good freaking food in here, okay? The stream's still lagging? The stream looks like it's still lagging. Did I not switch connection? Anyway, I just want to keep complaining about food for a minute. I looked around. I found, like, a pot of honey. Wait, why is it still buffering? Sorry, guys, hold on. The stream keeps buffering. Stream? Please? Look, I'm just gonna keep talking. It's gonna lag for a bit, guys, but it'll pass. I've switched my connection, so it should be... It's definitely decreased. But, I looked around. I found, like, a pot of honey just on its own. I can't really have that. There's no bread, so sandwiches aren't an option. There's some pita bread, but I'm not allowed to use the toaster, and I'd probably break it, to be honest with you, because it's very funky. Only Mum really knows how to use it, so I don't want to risk burning my hands on that. And there's some leftovers, but they're really dry and chewy, and I don't want to have those, because I know I've had leftovers before, and it's not great. So, the only other thing that left was cereal, and I've already had a bowl of cereal, so here I am, having some dry cinnamon crunch. Fuck me. I mean, this is desperation right here. This is how it feels to have peanuts thrown at you as an elephant. Oh well. Don't forget your vitamin D either, by the way, fellas. My mum's giving me vitamin D pills because the sun's not going to be out very much in the winter, so I got to take one of these every day for the next 50 days. So, yeah, I'm getting my D. Have you got your D? You want my D? Get some Mr. Matt D, free of charge. Here it is, guys. Mr. Matt D, vitamin D from Mr. Matt. Produced for and by Mr. Matt. Kind of, it's funny because D also stands for dick, which is a synonym for the word penis, implying that we're going to be engaging in oral sex, which is very funny. Except it's not, because there's a lot of under 18s in here. I'm very sorry. Anyway. So, what did I miss? Again, there's a few things that are just mean to animals, like the enclosures, but also the fact there's obviously lots of people making noise, and some people are really mean to the animals, like children, you know, mean to the animals, and they go there. Once I got to feed a giraffe, and the trainers actually said they are hungry and haven't been fed, and that I can feed it as much as I want. Something along those lines. What the fuck? Yo, oh yeah! Don't worry about the giraffe. We don't feed it properly. We don't keep it, you know, please give it food because we don't want to have to pay for that. Jesus Christ, that's fucked up. And I'm gonna move this plate so I can grab this from in front of me. That is actually fucked up. Classy, that is a cringe ass zoo. So what do you guys say? DJ says that zoos give us a chance as humans to learn about these animals and possibly help them from going extinct. They also give a place and space to help any sick, hurt, or injured animals. And the ones that were born and die in captivity, so they just rely on the zookeepers. You know, is that okay? Brave New World. Exactly. If you take an animal that was raised in captivity and put it in the wild, it won't work. It won't be fit for the wild, yeah. A snow tiger. She was a rescue. She was alone. So although she would say she was lonely, she wasn't even near the other tigers. That's sad. Ah, the benefits of working at a bakery. I'll eat a loaf of rye bread or sourdough baguette your way. Bro, are you the manager?
Are you the fucking bread manager? Bread! We got loaf. We got baguette. I don't care if the gluten is free. Take the gluten as the bread.
And I touch my mic again. That's going to be disgusting. I'm crunching on some cinnamon crunch. It's cereal. It's literally just sugar, cinnamon, and bread. Let me, I just want to find something. Oh. My external drive is still here. Guys, check out this meme. Check out this meme. This shouldn't get copyrighted, but who's seen this meme before?
Bread bank. We sell bread.
The bread bank. This is Livy. This is Livy right here.
We sell bread. We sell loaves. We got bread on deck, bread on the floor. Toast it.
Bro, shut the fuck up.
That's me.
Listen, I just need a baguette and a brioche.
We don't have either of those. You can get the gluten-free white bread, the potato bread.
What the fuck is gluten? Take that shit out.
It's gluten-free.
I don't care if it's free.
Swear on your fucking Yeezys. If you wanna fight, we gonna fight.
You trying to be on World Star?
What, you gonna record it?
Yeah. I got my dollar store camera. Oh, what's the fucking situation?
And you get the idea.
What do you want? I'm the motherfucking manager at the bread store.
It's a pretty good meme. Pretty good meme. Let's just look up some images. Just for the background of the stream. But hell yeah. Platty's favourite cereal. You saw it here first. Ah yeah, Mr. Hippo. Talking about rye bread. Look at this, buddy. Look at all these animals in captivity here. I'm about halfway through eating these, guys. Once I finished eating them, I'm going to give my opinion. I'm not gonna lie. You're not supposed to eat these with your fingers. My fingers are getting very sticky. I'm sure Platty knows this. So, I'm gonna need to go wash them again. I'm gonna have to go AFK. I'm gonna have to go wash. I haven't washed already. I'll go AFK again and wash them. So, I'm just gonna sit here for a minute and you guys can talk. Anything else you want to say about zoos? You know, has anyone here ever been to a zoo? Let's talk personal, because I need to sell bread and cake. I'm not the manager. Exactly. That's why you're the first Doge. Yeah. I'm the fucking manager of the bread. Livy, if you ever work for me, if I ever buy out your bakery or something, you know what I'm doing. I need a baguette and a brioche. Yeah, that's really funny. You know, I was just thinking. I remember seeing insects at a zoo. I remember seeing some red ants, one of which escaped, but they were tiny, so I didn't know if that was a problem, and it kind of freaked me out, because I really don't like ants. But there were also, what are they called? You know those big green insects that come in swarms and can just destroy crop fields because they just eat everything? Locusts. There was a box behind a glass panel, smaller than this desk that I am sitting at, full of locusts. It genuinely freaked me out because I was like, we were just hearing about how they just like swarmed like Egyptian villages and just completely stripped them of food while they were like inches away from us with nothing but some glass in between. Freaked me out. The thing is, I don't know if this was a zoo or some other kind of park that included a few insects, because I don't remember seeing any elephants or zebras or lions. I don't think I've ever been on a proper like zoo in real life. I can remember loads of school trips to museums, to more museums, to parks, to, the coast of England, but I don't think I've ever seen a lion or a tiger or an elephant or a rhino or a hippopotamus or a giraffe or a monkey in real life. I've only ever seen them through video and photo. And I want you guys to think about that when I explain my opinion. I don't have that experience of actually going to a zoo. I really don't have it. So I'm going to be relying on other people's. Oh, wow. You eat cereal with no milk, and you actually are, so you do know Platty. Yeah, my fingers are super sticky now. I need to go wash them, guys. But yeah. Everyone been to a Twycross zoo? I have not. But DJ's not been to any recently, although he has been to them. Interesting. Guys, I just need to go on break again. Before I go again. Shout out to today's charity, the RSPCA. Really good group. You guys should go check them out. The link is in the description with my social media pages and everything. You want to go check those out. As well as the sources if you want to read about all of this yourself and, you know, find more. It's all down there. But today's charity shout out goes to the RSPCA, which is quite appropriate because that stands for the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. These guys are all about protecting animals, both wild and domesticated. You can see there's like a cat here. Look at the adorable. Yeah, I think these guys are more about domestic animals than wild animals, so maybe not the perfect match for this stream. But yeah, if you if you can, you can rescue animals and rehome, you know, pets in your area. I think they're based in the UK. You can also donate, because every year, thousands of animals suffer from neglect, cruelty, and abuse, and with your help, we can end their misery. We rely on voluntary fundraising and donations to carry out our vital work. And it's as simple as that, guys. If you want to know what they do, they have like a whole strategy and everything. They're the oldest welfare charity in existence. Or at least, they say that. It's probably the oldest welfare charity in the UK. That's pretty impressive, though. They educate. They, you know, do like tours and stuff. They, these guys seem less focused on wild animals so much as domestic and like farm animals. But they're all animals, guys. They're all equal, okay? They're all, you know, valuable lives. And, you know, they have all kinds of work going on to help, you know, sustainability with farms and end abuse and neglect, you know, with, like, dogs and cats who are, like, stray. Volunteer, you can campaign, you can donate. All of your money will go directly towards great causes. I suggest you just go check out the website yourself and read all about it here if you want to. If you want to adopt a pet, you can do that. And, you know, you can rehome. It doesn't have to be something that necessarily lives in your house. You can rehome a horse. You can, like, adopt, there's other websites where you can, like, adopt your, you know, like, adopt a tiger or a panda or whatever. You basically pay for their, like, you know, rescue. But, yeah, there's a lot on here. And cancelling out animal cruelty is really important. So, wild animals, you know, domestic animals, look at this. Oh, it hurts to see. We got to stop it, guys, alright? We got to end animal cruelty. The link is in the description. Okay, fellas. My parents are back, everyone's back. They want my help outside, so I'm probably going to go do that if they're still going once I finish the stream in maybe 30 minutes. But yeah, so we've talked about a lot of different aspects of zoos, I think, and the ethics of zoos and aquariums. I saw a monkey at the same zoo that they didn't feed the giraffe, and I saw a monkey and it's put its hand on the glass and just looked at me. The same place where they were like, oh yeah, give the giraffe whatever you want. We don't feed it properly. I think it's time I gave my opinion on all this. If you guys... excuse me. If you guys are all happy with what you've said and you feel like you've been heard, then I'm going to tell you what I think, because I think I formulated an opinion on this. And I think it's actually surprisingly simple. It is a complicated issue. It is a complex and multi-layered issue that cannot be solved with any simple kind of solution. It's very important to qualify a lot of the details here. Oh, thanks, Mum. That terrified me. Oh my goodness. She just handed me these cheddars, so I think it was my mum. I actually can't tell. Anyway, so, don't mind me having a snack, fellas. Okay, I can't eat them pork, so I won't eat those just yet, but I think out of everyone here, this. Stephanie, and especially Sarah. This, I think, sums it up perfectly. I think this is like the best argument I've seen. Like this is just the most powerful argument I've seen by far. There's a lot of aspects to zoos, and I think most of the people who said opinions and had like thoughts on this had a point. I think everyone had of these different websites. I liked all the arguments. There wasn't anyone who I was thinking you're stupid. No, everything was backed up by logic and facts in oh well wait, well we need to delay our video. Oh shit, I forgot about that. Yeah, maybe just a smidge. Guys, the stream's lagging. Is it just me, or is the stream hacka-lagging? Oh my god, Platty, I'm such an idiot, I'm so sorry. Guys, I just remembered, I'm supposed to be recording a video with Platty in 20 minutes. To be honest though, working outside, it usually doesn't go that far past 6 o'clock, because it's dark. I'm going to finish this before 6, so maybe we can push it back half an hour? I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. Sorry, dude. Make sure DJ's okay with it though, because we've got to organise the three of us. I completely forgot. Forgive me. Let me just get the conclusion done. So, I thought this was a bit simple, bit simplistic, but the point is that if you actually go to a zoo and you really pay attention, you'll realise this isn't something that we should just take for granted, the status quo, because they're a problem. And it's that first step that gets you thinking on this line of argument, well, okay, zoos aren't this great thing, why are they normalised? I think the fellas on this page were pretty cool. I think Doug Kress especially knows where it's at. I agree with him on pretty much everything. I think visiting zoos... I don't think we should just get rid of zoos entirely. Or should we? No. I do think we should get rid of zoos. But I do also think that, you know, we shouldn't just end seeing wild animals in real life. I feel like, you know, he makes a fair point here. In today's world, a visit to the zoo is the only connection with nature many people will have. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, because obviously it's his business. But I think there are a lot of risks in the wild, you know? And, you know, there are advantages to zoos there. Let's just really dig deeper, though, right? Because, you know, it depends on the zoos. You know, the part of the animals said their thing here. You know, should animals have the most natural life possible? Or should we keep them safe? You can argue, you know, this is good, this is bad, and maybe, you know, the best thing to do is to have regulations for zoos, which there are, and I can't remember where it was said exactly. I think it was this page, or this page, but, you know, there are zoos with good regulations, that, you know, give animals sufficient space, you know, activities, food, all of that. You can see all of this here. And, you know, main arguments for and against, you know, here it is, yeah, high standards. So maybe that's not so bad. You know, you've got your protection of endangered species, you know, education, but also the, you know, horrific treatment of animals in examples such as this. Really going back over it all. So many questions here. I could stream for another hour, although I probably won't. Guys, do any of you honestly think that zoos, regardless of how good or bad they are just simply, is simply irrelevant because of technology? Has technology just made zoos a thing of the past now? And I mean, you know, a personal experience with an animal can't be replaced by technology, but technology has allowed us to do things we wouldn't have been able to before. And, you know, let's go talk about economics. I think this is quite a nice page because it sums it up quite neatly. Entertainment, education, research, conservation, animal dependency, education, captivity, and, you know, the conclusion. Entertainment's not a big deal. I can live without being entertained by going to a zoo. I think that's the least important thing here, because there's lots of other ways for us to enjoy ourselves with wild animals without having to go to a zoo. Again, technology. We have the technology to see far away now and, you know, share, you know, footage from deep in the wild. I think education, having a duality is an interesting one, and I definitely think individual zoo owners need to be really clear about the messages they want to send to the public and what they are trying to promote. Because in my honest opinion, I think research and conservation are by far the most important aspects of zoos. I think now that we're in the 21st century, we should really, with all the things going on with the environment, think about this. Research is just, you know, fantastic. It's just a fantastic thing. And so is conservation. They work together. By conserving animals, you can research them better, and you can help all kinds of environmental scientists, you know, help keep the, you know, sorry, my lamps, ecosystem in balance. But I think there's a big thing a lot of people have missed with this. And I think it's not a binary yes or no, are zoos ethical or not. There's a spectrum. But I think my view on this, honestly, is that zoos let me just think about this. Why do I have loads of different... Let me just open all of these again. I need to look at everything one more. I think I've worked it out, guys. There's a lot of things I've got to say here. That, like, there's loads. We don't have time to cover it all in the stream, unfortunately. Here's the thing. The definition of a zoo is a park where wild animals are kept inside for public presentation. The details of, you know, how, you know, well those animals are looked after doesn't say. It's simply a place where wild animals are kept, alright? You know, park has connotations, of course, but not, you know, we're just looking at definition here. You know, something these guys did identify was that there are, you know, lots of different kinds of zoos. Some are better than others, in different ways. And, you know, both sides argue they're saving animals. But, this person said that as long as there is demand for them, zoos will continue to exist. Since zoos are likely an inevitability, the best thing to do is to reform them and to make sure that there are strict regulations on animal welfare. Okay. What about, you know, the pro and con list? Again, we've talked about this. Research and conservation. I think that's the really important thing. I think these 9 different viewpoints were very interesting, especially Eugene. All of them, really. There were lots of good comments here. Very negative. But I think this is my opinion, okay? All of this is connected to a vast argument of safety versus freedom, which I'm going to be addressing another day. What I want to talk about right now is this. This is the definition of the word zoo, alright? This is the definition of the word zoo. I think this is unethical. Literally. Ethics, morals, your generally accepted good and bad, you know, your sense of good and bad. It doesn't matter what argument you can make against. It's like Sarah said. there is no ethical way you can justify imprisoning animals in a place where they shouldn't be, and for us to assume control over all life on the planet. Yes, we're the dominant species of the planet. Yes, we're the most advanced. You know, we have, you know, tools and opposable thumbs, which actually multiple other animals have, and, you know, technology and science. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, in the circle of life, we are still just one part of a large network, and we are not at the center. Okay? We are not at the center. And we have no right to, you know, force animals to be in places, especially poorly maintained, uncomfortable places, against their will. What if it's well managed though? What if it's, you know, they've got food and friends, but it's still not going to be the same as their natural habitat. It never will be. It will never be their natural environment, and this is why. Let me just go back there, okay? It's just not justifiable. And where is it? Yeah. You know, Sarah is a professional. She's studied for a long time. I would trust her word, okay? There's no consent. The animals don't consent. It doesn't matter about everything else when, you know, there's so many, you know, so much abuse and so many, like, you know, wrongdoings happening in zoos anyways, even though there are good ones. But just because it's good doesn't mean it's ethical. I'm not saying just because it's unethical, by the definition of ethics, it is unethical to imprison these animals against their will without consent. They can't. They're basically children in terms of mental development. But also, you know, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that zoos exist. Some zoos are great, but few. It really does seem like most of them are pretty awful. And, you know, the more research we do, the more evidence there is scientifically against this. Never mind morals. So what's the answer? This is my answer. Okay. A zoological park is a park where wild animals are kept inside for public presentation. Okay. I think we need to replace zoos with something else. Alright. Call it a new zoo. Here's my radical plan, okay? I think we need to educate the masses on what zoos really are. And not just, you know, especially zoo owners and managers, not just inform them on everything that's happening, but what we should be doing going forward, okay? And trying to persuade them about ideas such as this. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but, I've got an idea. So, something that was said here is that as long as there is demand for them, zoos will continue to exist. That doesn't mean they're inevitable. If we inform the public with good, you know, marketing and persuasive arguing about, you know, how bad zoos really are, generally, then maybe we can decrease demand to the point where zoos will simply cease to exist because they cannot sustain themselves. To what end? There has to be something to replace them, right? And this is where it comes in. I think zoos should be replaced with parks where wild animals are kept inside, not for public presentation. They're kept temporarily, never permanently, for research and conservation. Does this mean that we can't be entertained by zoos anymore? Absolutely not. These places would still be zoos. They would still be places where our wild animals are kept and the public could meet them and greet them and enjoy the sight of them and having them close. But I think the real thing that we need to do is really reform zoos to the point of actually changing the definition and maybe not even having zoos exist anymore so much as being replaced by something a bit more, you know, in favor of animal welfare. I think it goes without saying that these places would definitely have to hold the high standards that the best zoos that do exist today would, but not imprison wild animals permanently, but temporarily. I'm adding for research and conversation to really, you know, try and, you know, focus on the, you know, the science and the real benefits that will lead to breakthroughs in perhaps medicine or, pet keeping or whatever else zoology does. I don't really know, to be honest. But I think the really important part of this is that if the zoos were changed to be linked up with research centers that were in the wild, which are statistically proven to be more efficient, as someone said before, then they could have a system where animals are routinely transferred in and out. So instead of animals living their whole lives in captivity, a single animal might not need to live more than 10% of its lifespan less in captivity. It might only be in captivity once in a zoo, which is admittedly imprisonment, but with, you know, enough high maintenance and enough, you know, care to actually, you know, use the animal's presence for the best possible benefit, to educate and to conserve it and all of that. Really, you know, I forgot what I was saying. That sentence went on too long. I forgot what I was going to say. Look, guys, here's what I'm saying. Temporary containment of animals makes so much sense. Now, there are exceptions to this, obviously. Okay, so some animals not endangered, you can temporarily keep them in a zoo, maybe switch them in and out between the zoo and the wild every few months. I guess that could screw around with the animal a bit, which is why I'd really be more about just taking a few animals to put in captivity once. I mean, depending on how they react, I don't know. I don't think we should be breeding animals in captivity, because that's not natural. It's not natural, okay? It's not okay, because that's just going to have adverse effects for everyone involved, I think. But what about animals that are so endangered that leaving them in the wild at all is going to lead to extinction no matter what? What do you do in that situation? Because either you sacrifice ethics and you keep them in a zoo. Doesn't matter how well maintained the zoo is, if they're so endangered that they cannot be released back into the wild, you know, for multiple generations, if it's like a really serious situation, then they're going to adapt for captivity, and they're never going to be released back into the wild. I'm not a pet expert, but I think the only other alternative to that, you know, unless we can find some method of protecting animals while they're in the wild, is to let them loose and let them go extinct. So either you can die free or live in captivity. Even if captivity was comfortable. And this is only, you know, this is accounting for all kinds of risks, man-made and natural. You know, there are hunters and poachers out there. There are diseases, deforestation, logging, you know, but there's also natural viruses. There's, you know, natural climate change. And, you know, as a higher power, are we responsible for saving these animals? But is captivity really a fair cost? We're back at the start. I think my method for temporary captivity is going to work. I think it is going to work, but only for some animals. What do you guys think? Because we can go a step further. We can go a step further with this. Let's say, for the sake of entertainment as well as science and stuff, you don't keep animals in captivity permanently. You let them go in and out of the wild. And I think for aquariums as well, it may be a bit difficult, it may be a bit more costly, but with some, what do you call it? With some, what is it called when the government gives private companies a loan? Suppler something. If they get something from the government, you know, that could work. Where's the government get that money from? Tax the rich properly. It's part of my scheme, guys. I'm going to take over the world, and I'm going to start a communist utopia. I'm kidding. But, you know, this almost comes down to a theoretical philosophy. You know, even if it's really comfortable, it's still captivity. Maybe it's okay. You know, maybe it's better that these animals live safe and happy lives without ever being able to experience their real freedom, simply because that freedom will bring about their end. But again, why should we be the ones to decide? This is what I'm thinking, okay? This is my last, like, big brain idea, okay? I mean, I'm saying big brain. I mean that in terms of creativity, not intelligence. I want to suggest something a bit radical, okay? So we've been over all these arguments, and it seems like for endangered species, it's kind of unresolved. Because freedom is death, but safety is captivity. Both are awful. Why should we care? What does it matter? Think about it for a second. We humans are just chilling here. Why should we bother spending hundreds, thousands, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on conservation projects to protect some random animals that barely ever interact with humans anyway from distant lands. Why should we bother? I mean, sure, okay, you'll lose out on the entertainment of, you know, seeing some animals up close and maybe a few medical advancements, you know, and in terms of research. But why should we really bother from an ethical point of view? You know, there is no logical reason for us to go to all that effort to stop animals from becoming extinct. Animals, you know, live and die all the time. People live and die all the time. There's nothing sacred about life, you know? Why should we bother when we're trying so hard to barely avoid an inevitability, to simply slow it down or, you know, morph the development of an animal into something unnatural? I mean, if an animal is about to go extinct and we keep it in captivity to protect it, only to keep it there for so long that it adapts to its environment and ceases to be the animal that enjoyed freedom before, is that animal really still alive? Or did they go extinct in captivity by a different death? Just saying. I think there's a lot of ways to look at things. And, you know, in truth, you know, we have to choose. No predetermined thing for us. The thing about us humans is that we bear the burden of conscious thought and reason, which no animal does. By default, we are free over being safe. So, yeah, that's something for you guys to think about. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. That's everything. That's all the arguments. Are zoos ethical? And if they're not, is there an ethical alternative? I'm seeing a lot of lag. But yeah, no one's saying anything. I was expecting a bit of back and forth, to be honest, but no one's. DJ said everyone wants to, so that's the end of the stream. Think about what I've said, fellas. I'm gonna go now. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, share this with your friends, check out the links in the description, go donate to the RSPCA, read those articles if you're interested, although I already went over them in quite a bit of detail. And today's QOTD winner, we had quite a few good QOTDs. We had Mithran. Shit, his message is going to cut read it. We had SPL, who was saying that zoos are effectively prisons. And we had Mithran, who said that most zoos are good. With their, you know, with like the different kinds of like, you know, quality. Livy has provided some interesting ideas. Platty has. There's been a lot of good, but today's QOTD winner absolutely has to go to SBL Studios. I think he made a solid argument. It was nice and concise. Ready? Alright, fine, it's Game Jolt. That's not it. But yeah, this guy gave a brilliant answer, and I think it was very clear and very concise. Zoos are prisons, it's a fact. So if you guys are interested, go check out SPL Studios. He makes FNAF games and stuff, funny among us. There's some pretty cool stuff on here. And yeah, he's a game dev. He's programming stuff in FNAF Engine and with MS Paint, showing how much you can do with limited resources. It's very impressive. And go check him out. As for me, I will be around. You guys know where to find me. While we're here at the end, while we've got a couple minutes, I know the stream's lagging, which is not great, but I just want to take a moment to talk about Debate Direct as a whole. I've never really paused to really think about Debate Direct, because it's just kind of been the thing that's kept on going, and I've always just been thinking, what new topics can we do? What can we do next? But we're about to hit the 50th episode. So I want to do something special. There are lots of ideas I have that could be episode 50. One of them will make it through, and the others will probably be reused for stuff like episode 100, episode 200, 250, who knows. But this series, I'm really starting to think... Excuse me. I'm really... Excuse me. I'm really starting to realise that this thing is going places. This series is a really big thing. And I think I've just got to keep growing it, because the potential is there, and it is time we executed it. So I'm going to try not to go on break for like 2 months or something. I'm going to try and keep it more consistent. It might be 2 weeks rather than 1 week before the next episode, because I feel like this one will have extra planning. I might even do a poll. But that is all for today, folks. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed the debate. More coming soon, as well as all the other topics, of course. Reviews, theories. You know how it goes. Alright. I got just a little bit of hydration left, so thank you so much for watching. And until the next time, stay hydrated.